Welcome to the Animated Critics Box Office Report from May 14th through the 16th, 2010. This weekend's number one film was Iron Man 2 with $53 million at the box office. That represented a 60% drop from its first weekend, but that still ranks Iron Man's second weekend as one of the top grossing weekends of the year.
That brings its total domestic cum to $212 million. Worldwide, so at over $400 million already, so it's doing pretty well. At this point, I don't know if it's going to hit 400 or not. It would need to have some legs to do that.
Coming in at number 2 this weekend was Robin Hood with an opening of $37 million. That ranks as the high end for the subgenre of medieval warfare films. The opening weekend almost eclipses the total gross of Ridley Scott's last film, Kingdom of Heaven. How do you feel about the opening of Robin Hood?
With the same budget, $200 million, as Iron Man, it's kind of a weak opening, and I'm really kind of surprised that they spent so much on this, selling it almost as a Gladiator 2.
The 1991 version of Robin Hood opened up with $25 million, and that would equal about $48 million today in adjusted dollars. So the fact that it didn't hit those numbers, it's got to be a disappointment. Another in a long year of disappointments for Universal Pictures.
I think it's unfortunate they spent $200 million on it, but that happens sometimes with these dramas and big movies where you get a lot of starts and stops, and budget slowly expands as you have people coming in and writing scripts constantly and something in production for so many years.
And even though it's going to do substantially better overseas, I don't see this movie breaking $80 million here in the U.S.
Yeah, definitely not. I think it's going to have some huge drop-offs in the coming weekend, especially going up against such big movies that are coming out this summer.
In third place, we have Letters to Juliet, a counter-programming move by Summit Entertainment to offset the male action films of Robin Hood and Iron Man 2. It had a decent opening at $13 million, but it starred the lead actress from earlier this year's hit Dear John, and that movie itself opened up with over $30 million weekend. So this is a fairly soft weekend, but the fact of the matter is it wasn't widely marketed, so it has to be viewed as somewhat of a success for Summit.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a success for that movie. I know that it tested well the weekend before in a very limited release, and 13.5 million, you can't cry about that for someone like Letters to Juliet, especially since the lead, Amanda Seyfried, isn't necessarily a huge actress. In comparing to Dear John, I don't think she carried that movie at all. That was more just the idea of that, going back to the Notebook type film.
Yeah, I agree with you on her. You know, this movie opened up in the same ballpark as The Backup Plan a few weeks back, and that was a star-driven vehicle for Jennifer Lopez. So the fact that this girl who opened up this picture by herself is a fairly nice, remarkable feat. In fourth place, we have Just Wright, the new film starring hip-hop artist Common and Queen Latifah. It had a fairly soft opening of $8.5 million. Although it played in less than 2,000 theaters, it had a decent per-screen average of $4,500 per screen. But it's on the low end of the sports-themed romantic comedy genre, trailing in attendance of other films like Love and Basketball and even past Queen Latifah films like Last Holiday.
Well, as far as the per-screen average goes, it's exactly on par with Letters to Juliet, so I think it's a hit. Again, obviously this is playing to a different demographic, and I like Queen Latifah a lot, and I would have hoped they would have released this a little wider, and it probably would have done just as well as Letters to Juliet had they done that.
This is going to probably fade out and be out of the theaters and on a DVD before the end of the basketball season.
Yeah, I agree.
Rounding out our top 5 is How to Train Your Dragon with $5 million, and once again it had the smallest week-to-week decline in the top 10, dipping only 22%. Its total now stands at $207 million, and that's right behind Kung Fu Panda at this point in their runs. Once again, this does have the chance of being the highest-grossing DreamWorks picture outside of the Shrek franchise.
This movie's had a great run. As kind of a James Cameron run, if you will, with a Titanic or even an Avatar type fall-offs. They got to be really happy with this, and DreamWorks has another hit, and they're definitely going to be doing number 2, if not number 3.
Next weekend we have the openings of MacGruber, the Saturday Night Live themed comedy, and Shrek 4. What do you think of the box office openings for next weekend's films?
I don't think they're going to be all that great. Shrek Forever After is definitely unseating Iron Man 2 next weekend, and it's going to be number one. MacGruber, I'm saying number three. I'm saying Iron Man 2 definitely does better than MacGruber. And I'm saying that possibly there's going to be a fight between third and fourth place between MacGruber and Robin Hood, but my guess is Robin Hood's going to take a pretty hefty hit next weekend.
I agree with you. I see Shrek opening up top of the box office next weekend around $65 to $70 million, and I see MacGruber being slightly impacted on the box office by Robin Hood and Iron Man, so I see that opening at 15 to 20 million. Be sure to check back with us next week and see if our predictions come correct. Thank you for joining us this week, and we'll see you next weekend.